All right, let's get started. Well, good morning, everybody, and thank you so much for joining. My name's Chris Birtwistle. I manage the local government team here at AWS. I'm joined today by my colleague Adam, who's Business Development Manager for Machine Learning here at AWS, and also Luke, who's Head of Digital Services at our partner ANS. We're going to be talking you through our machine learning stack, and then Luke's going to be talking around the work that ANS have been doing with chatbots in particular, and some of the broad application that the technology can be used for. But to kick things off, we've got Adam, who's going to run through, as I say, our portfolio of machine learning services, give you a brief overview of what we do in this area and the different solutions that comprise that platform, and then that should lead nicely to Luke to run through ANS's approach. There's a bar for submitting questions. There's a button for that, so please do so. We will try and cover them off if we're able to during the course of the presentation. If there's anything that we don't cover, we've got a little bit of time at the end for questions, and if we still don't cover them, then we will respond to you directly, and we'll be sending out an audio recording as well of the session. So without any further preamble from me, Adam, could you please just kick us off with an overview of the machine learning stack?
Hi there. This is Adam Sutherland. I am the Global Business Development Manager for Machine Learning and AI Services. Good morning. So I'm going to take you through our approach, AWS's approach to machine learning. Much like other aspects of AWS, we don't feel that there is any one solution, product, approach that will work for all the customers. So when it comes to machine learning, pardon me, we have provided what we call our stack. So if you're going we'll start from the bottom and we'll go up, but at the bottom of the stack, we have our frameworks and infrastructure. This area is for very experienced machine learning practitioners, probably data scientists, probably computer scientists, and their decision is essentially they're going to build their own models, they're going to train their own models, and they're going to deploy them. And the question is whether or not they will do that in-house in their own server stack, or whether they'll do that in the cloud. We believe that there are a lot of benefits from cost and speed to doing this in the cloud. So we try to make it as easy as possible for them to make the decision to deploy in the cloud. We do that through providing access to the most popular frameworks, excuse me, TensorFlow, PyTorch, CathayNet, MXNet, etc. We have the development interfaces that most people are comfortable with or familiar with, and then we have a good portion of infrastructure to facilitate whatever it is that they're trying to do. I won't go into a ton of detail on the infrastructure piece. I will just call out one or two things. One is Greengrass, which is our tool set and platform to push machine learning inference to the edge. So this is for a lot of IoT type use cases. And the other one that I'll call out is Elastic Inference. Depending on the machine learning model that you build, 80% plus of the cost of that model will actually be in inference. Everybody makes a big deal about training because it's GPU intensive and can be expensive. But the reality is, depending on the model and the life cycle of the model, most of the cost comes in inference. And we have Elastic Inference, which allows you to pay for only what you use when it comes to inference. At AWS, we have this concept of undifferentiated heavy lifting. What that means is you have something that you need to do, in order to get a result, but that process itself is actually not a differentiator for you or your business. It doesn't add any value, and it doesn't create a differentiated advantage for you. So therefore it's undifferentiated, and it's heavy lifting because you have to do it. We see one of our goals at AWS is to take as much of that heavy lifting, that undifferentiated heavy lifting, off of our customers' plates. So SageMaker is a great example of one of the ways we do that in machine learning. We've taken all of the stuff at the framework and infrastructure level, what we might call the plumbing. We've taken that all off the plate, and you essentially can focus on just building, training, and deploying models at speed and at scale. By having the ability to focus on those activities, you can be much more creative and much more effective in your machine learning approach. So going from the left to the right, machine learning projects need to start off with data on which to train. That data needs to be labeled. One of the interesting things to think about is that if you look at the most complicated machine vision model you've ever seen, one that can discern not just the difference between people and things, but maybe even faces, or can do things like gait analysis, where you can see identify somebody by how they're walking. As exciting and organized, as exciting and kind of advanced as those models seem, somewhere in the process, a human had to go in and label data to train that model. That's still true today. There are a lot of available data sets for training, but for most projects, especially for bespoke models, you're going to need your own data. So Ground Truth is a platform that allows you to do some of that data labeling through machine learning itself. It creates this virtuous cycle where the data that Ground Truth thinks is not, that it's not sure of, so if the confidence level is low, that data goes to humans, who then will label it and tag it, put it back into Ground Truth. So the more you use Ground Truth, the better it gets, and the lower your human labeling costs will become. Once you've got your data, you need to prep your data. That's generally done in Jupyter notebooks. We have dozens of Jupyter notebooks available on SageMaker. You can bring your own Jupyter notebooks and use those to prep your data. After you have your data prepped, you will need to choose your algorithm and to best associate that data with the outcome that you're looking for. Here, again, AWS has 15 to 20 algorithms that we offer natively. You can bring your own algorithms to SageMaker, and there's also an algorithm marketplace. There's a whole nother branch of machine learning called reinforcement learning. SageMaker supports reinforcement learning. If you have more questions on this, let me know, but reinforcement learning is essentially allows the computer to do training by looking at an agent in an environment. The best example that we have right now is our Deep Racer platform. So once you have your data and you've prepped it and you've chosen your algorithm, then you need to train the model. There's one-click training on SageMaker. Basically, this is where people see a lot of value, because our ability to be elastic in both compute and GPU means that you can train models that would take weeks on premise. You can do those in hours in AWS. The first model out of the gate is generally not the model that you're going to deploy, so you're going to need to tweak it and optimize it a little bit. We have hyperparameter optimization. Once you are happy with the model you've got, one click to deploy, and then you're hosted in AWS. This is an important point. We like to say that machine learning workloads and machine learning jobs are not actually standalone. They need to be part of a larger process. Once you're ready to put your model out there for inference, then you are still in the AWS environment. So you've got the uptime you've come to expect, you've got the security you've come to expect, you have everything that you expect from AWS to support your machine learning. The top of the stack is where we abstract almost all of the plumbing and all of the heavy lifting. And we essentially allow you to send us information via API. and we will send data back. So we're not terribly creative in our naming of the top of the stack. Most of the products do what they say, but we do bucket them into vision, speech, language, chatbots, which we'll dive into in much more detail, forecasting and recommendation. On the vision side, rec and rec video do, once again, kind of what they say. You give us a video, you give us an image, we'll tell you what's in there. Textract is our OCR, our optical character recognition. It's smart OCR, so it has the ability to pull data, to pull text out of images and PDFs, but not only the text in context. So it can maintain data structures of things like tax forms, bank statements, etc. In the speech bucket, we have Poly, which will take a document and turn it into speech for you, and Transcribe, which does the opposite. So give us some audio and we will transcribe it for you and tell you what's inside those recorded calls, inside that media file, what have you. Translate takes text of one language and turns it into text of another. Comprehend and Comprehend Medical are our natural language processing platform. They allow you to take a corpora of text data and pull out sentiment analysis, entity extraction, and a variety of other things. Comprehend Medical is specifically for the medical field. We'll talk more about Lex in a second, so I'll come back to that. Forecast and Personalize, both of these are actually products or platforms that were built internally by Amazon and have been used by Amazon for years, and we've turned them into a product for general use. Forecast, as the name would imply, feed in several data streams and it'll provide a forecast of inventory or demand or what have you. And personalization is the result of years of Amazon.com's efforts to provide personalized recommendations based on clickstream data, based on demographics, etc. So chatbots, I will hand off to Luke in a second to talk more about how Lex has been deployed, but essentially think of Lex as the heart of the Alexa platform. Obviously, there's been a lot of we've built a lot on top of that for the product that is Alexa, but that kernel is available for you to use directly through partners, etc. With that, Luke, I'd love to hand off to you and hear a little bit more about how you guys have used Lex to build some interesting chatbots.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Adam. It's really nice to get an overview there of the AWS ML stack, because with regards to sort of chatbot technology, the services that Amazon provide really allow us to design the next generation chatbots, which fundamentally are going to improve the citizen experience. My name's Luke. I'm head of digital services at A&S Group. To give you a bit of an overview of the company, and we were born in Manchester, and we have a huge focus around AI, data, cloud, and connectivity. We have lots of different specialisms across the business, ranging from technical and solution architecture to engineering, interactive designers, lots of different skill sets. We have over 300 staff, most of which are actually technical consultants and work in delivery. We're also a Sunday Times Top 30, which we're really proud of. Means that all of the people at A&S really sort of enjoy working with the customers that we have. We've been an AWS Advanced Consulting partner since 2012, and also an AWS Public Sector Program partner. We really focus on customer engagement, and we really look to build strong partnerships across our client base. Kicking things off with some statistics. I know these figures are something are going to have been seen and understood by the people on the call today. So, some of these figures are really not new, but I think nevertheless, they really still do demonstrate the saving that can be gained through chatbot technology. It's the one that really stands out for me is the huge reduction in the cost of digital transactions versus the ones which are face-to-face. At the same time, I also appreciate that a lot of this comes down, I'm assuming really, around digital inclusion and adoption, and fundamentally designing services which put the citizen right at the heart is the only probably true way you can drive these business outcomes and initiatives. As I said, by focusing on the needs of the citizen, it really can help you achieve what the councils are looking and working towards. This is some commentary from Theo Blackwell, who's talking around local government organisations being self-sufficient, generating their own revenue, promoting local economic growth, and fundamentally being financially self-sufficient. But in order to do that, as I said, when you're designing and looking at digital services, what's key and fundamental is to take a user-centric approach. One of the things you can do in order to achieve that is create some example user flows and stories. This was actually produced by a council based up in Manchester, and it's exploring what a typical family would look like. So in this instance, we have Dave. He has a wife called Jane who owns a small cafe in Chorlton. They have some young children. Dave's parents live close by. Unfortunately, he lost his father last year, and as a result of that, he's due some inheritance money. And what this is really illustrating is a typical Manchester-based family, and with regards to their council interactions, how many portals that he would have to use, how many online accounts he would perhaps have, and typically the number of paper forms he would have to use in order to interact with the services that are appropriate and relevant to him. And bringing it back to chatbots for a second, I think really they present the opportunity to consolidate and provide a much more seamless intuitive experience for end users, because really all it represents is a human-centric way of having a conversation with someone. I personally don't really like the term chatbots because people have a lot of connotation with the word, in that it's this thing that comes up when you the bottom right hand corner of your screen, this sort of UI window, and perhaps actually really not understanding that the underlying technology can be deployed and used in so many different ways, and in fact not only be a tool which is reacting to what people are asking, but also giving you the ability to be proactive with citizens as well. My job really starts with helping organizations find product market fit when designing digital services, and understanding not only what capability you should be building into a chatbot, but also how they should be deployed and over which channels. And this slide really demonstrates some of the sort of main areas you would perhaps use a chatbot. So whether it be over social media, responding to customer service inquiries, understanding the sentiment of people across the district, and whether it be deployed as a progressive web app or integrated with a website for people looking for information on various different council services. It could be deployed over voice-enabled technology, and one of the case studies I have later is around how we've integrated that with Alexa for students at Coventry University. And also over telephony. So could you perhaps reach out to customers and be proactive with citizens by using text-to-speech type functionality, leveraging things such as Lex and Poly within the AWS ML stack, in order to proactively communicate with citizens. Naturally, one would also look to having native applications deployed over iOS and Android. And furthermore, chatbots not only are being used for customer-focused services, but also internally to drive a better experience for staff and employees. Whether it's understanding, and in terms of some example capability, you might want to know how many holidays you have left, when you're getting paid, which meeting rooms are free. And a chatbot is a really good interface for extracting and visualizing data. As I touched on a moment ago, the work we've done with Coventry was a really good example of how chatbots and deployed over Amazon Alexa can really make demonstrable difference to a large number of people. So with Coventry, what we did was decide to build an AI-driven best-in-class chatbot, which was aimed at really improving the student experience and therefore improving retention across the university. The project was a big success, primarily because of the number of self-service tasks we were able to complete, and the roadmap for development is now based on data, because actually most first version of chatbots are typically quite lightweight in terms of their capability, so you can demonstrate the value that they can add. Because of the popularity of chatbots, and I think the reason they're becoming so popular is also probably in line with the same reasoning AI is often talked about as an industry for technology which can truly drive business transformation, is because we haven't really had the technologies available prior to sort of the current era. Artificial intelligence has been around since around the 50s, or it was coined rather around the 50s by John McCarthy at the Dartmouth conference. But we haven't had the data or the compute power to work with until now. I think around 80% of the world's data was generated in the last 12 months. And it is those data sets which you need in order to really achieve that predictive analytical capability to perhaps understand the mental health and well-being of citizens, or predict likely council revenues over the coming months, understanding how transportation can be modernized and optimized using machine learning. You can really only achieve these things when you have good samples of data that are structured well in the likes of AWS. Coming on to BaseBot a second, this is something which has been really popular across our customer base, and it's effectively an open source version of the foundational components you need to scale an enterprise grade chatbot. I'd really recommend checking it out. It's completely free because it's on Git. There's a repository there with lots of instructions, and if need be, myself or someone else can talk you through that should you wish. And coming into those sort of components, it's got a modular storage system. It comes with authentication support. It's fully integrated with Amazon's services in the cloud. So we've already integrated it with the likes of Lex and Poly, as well as doing some other integrations that sit across some of the workflow tooling and software you might be using in your organization. Effectively, what BaseBot does is massively reduce your time to value, because you can effectively start building capability and functionality that's specific and tailored to your organization, as opposed to focusing on sort of those foundational elements that you need in order to build something that's scalable, secure, meets your governance and security requirements. So yeah, we can do a little run through of that in a moment. As well as BaseBot, what we decided to do was build out BaseBot Manager, which I'm actually going to do a little demo for you. And what this allows you to do is manage the simple questions and answers one would deploy to a chatbot without really needing to log into AWS. It's already fully integrated. With a click of the button, you can train the machine learning model, and it'll deploy that to the live environment. I'll actually show you a demo of that, and also the analytics capability we've built into BaseBot allows you to track key usage metrics, which you would want to really understand when primarily designing the future versions of the chatbot. I'll get into a little demo with you guys now. Here we go. So I've got like an example website here. It's actually Harrogate Borough Council, which is where I'm from. And as you can see here in the bottom right corner, we have our citizen bot. And this was actually really easy to deploy. It was just a script tag, a JavaScript script tag, which we added into the header, which adds our sort of citizen bot chatbot window. And in the back end, we have this very simple user interface with three menu items on the left, and as you can see here, we have sort of our content. So we've got our phrases, what types of phrase they are, the intents on the left. We have voice enabled and functional intent. So just to talk you through those, some content isn't really great to deliver through something such as over the phone. For example, I might want to see a picture of the town centre or navigate around the town centre. That might be something someone wants to do from within a native mobile app. You wouldn't obviously be able to do that very well or have a good experience via a speech-enabled device. So, and that's what voice-enabled is. Functional intent is whether you actually want feedback on that particular phrase. It could be something much smaller, such as our welcome intent here. You wouldn't really ask the customer for feedback on that response. However, paying council tax with regard to this customer response, you would perhaps want to get feedback from the customer or the citizen rather, with regards to how they found that conversational flow. Were they able to achieve what they set out to? To show you an example, you can actually see specific insights on particular intents, change the priority of things. If I was to edit this one, you can see here example phrases and responses, which I've sort of added in earlier. And then at the bottom, when you update, it effectively trains the model and runs the build, and you'll get a notification in the top left here saying build successful. On the right, we also have the ability to import and export spreadsheets, which makes it just really easy for different departments across an organization to manage their own content without having the need for everyone perhaps to have a login to your AWS environment. As I touched on earlier, we have some metrics here as well, so you can start to really easily see the number of interactions you've got, the average user rating across those interactions, which questions we're answering successfully and which ones we aren't. So that can inform the future development roadmap. Which platforms people are accessing. As I said, you may have the same chatbot deployed across multiple touch points. It could be via the website, and then it could be over Alexa, it could be deployed over a native app as well. And you might actually decide to have different functionality and capability across those different platforms. And because we're using sort of microservices and taking an event-driven approach, and it's built using serverless technology within AWS, it's fully scalable, it's easy to maintain and work with, but it also means that we can easily segment capability based on the identification of the end user. So a little bit on the sort of data there. The last sort of tab here is the activity log. So you can easily see sort of the audit trail of who has been adding and removing content. So just to demonstrate some of the capability that you might have, hello, welcome to our virtual assistant. How can we help? I may then say, when will my bins be emptied? Oh. Bins be emptied. No. Council tax rather. May have not added in bins yet, but hello, do you want me to pull up your current outstanding tax balance? Yes, please. Looks like you currently owe £125. Can I help you with anything else? Sure, I'd like to pay my balance. How do you want to pay? In this instance, I might want to do a bank transfer. And it's giving me some details there. This is a bit more than just doing a basic Q&A, and it would require obviously a number of integrations with other pieces of software or having that data available. So the first things first, we would want to authenticate the user to make sure we're speaking to the right person. And we would also want to find out how much they owe. So that's another integration. And then we have a number of different, perhaps payment gateway integrations if we want to take a payment digitally via PayPal or bank transfer, or a variety of others. And again, you could have quite a connected, seamless experience across multiple touch points. So in this instance, I'm on the website, but then I might also have the Harrogate Borough Council mobile app installed on my phone, in which case I could have a notification then saying, thank you for making a payment on your council tax, or even again, being proactive with regards to this sort of service, reminding me that my council tax payment is coming up 3 days from now. Really, I think good chatbot development comes down to good service design. and really understanding the journey the end user is going to go through when they're interacting with a lot of these different workflows. How do I apply for housing benefit? I may need to retrain the model. Yeah, no, this one's worked fine. You can apply for housing benefit by visiting our website at harrogate.gov.uk. So the difference between these two interactions, I guess, is one that's sort of worth pointing out. So in the second instance, all I'm doing is providing, a basic answer to a question, and that can be done within BaseBot and BaseBot Manager. And you could deploy BaseBot and BaseBot Manager within sort of 1 to 2 hours, and you would, from a very early instance, start to get, I think, a large amount of value from those pieces of tech. In order to take it a step further and achieve full, perhaps, workflow automation and really achieving the ability for people to self-serve, often that does require a number of integrations and bespoke development work. But BaseBot, as I said, gives you those foundational components that you need really to accelerate your time to market and really start driving some value from chatbot technology. So getting back into the presentation. I'll just touch a little bit on our engagement model as a business, because I think it's quite important to sort of understand how and what you should be building. These are often questions that I get asked, and for me it really starts by identifying what your sort of project vision is and what's your core value or your belief statement. So it could be along that, because you could really focus you could focus your project around just one aspect of the customer experience. It could be understanding and building a chatbot to help with mental health and well-being initiatives, or it could be focused around benefits and housing or social care, and it could be around transportation or local business support across your district. So it's very, very difficult to design a digital product for all of these things. So it's best to focus on one aspect initially from experience, and then you can build out that capability once you've demonstrated its ability to deliver value. So what we typically do with customers is run a series of evangelism sessions with key stakeholders across relevant departments to start mapping out those high-level user stories. What is it that we're trying to do from the end user's perspective? So as a member of the public, I'd like to know how I can pay my council tax. I'd like to know when my bins are getting empty. I'd like to report a pothole. We could also be designing for members of staff as well. So as a member of staff, I'd like to know when I get paid, how many holidays I have left, or it could be around sort of business intelligence as well. So I'd like to predict the council's revenue intake over the next 6 weeks, and we'll be leveraging the AWS ML stack in order to do that. And some of these initiatives can be really driven from an initial design phase, which is what we call sort of planning and design phase, and to understand what data is important to you, what do you want to track, what would you like, what would you like to be able to predict. We can do this in a series of planning and design workshops, as well as extract those high-level user stories, which really inform the prototyping that we will do, and also the development phase, and really getting you to that first release as cost effectively as possible. A little bit on the engagement model there, but that's pretty much wraps things up for me. I hope you've enjoyed the content. As I said, please check out BaseBot. We're going to send a link round to everyone, but other than that, it's back over to Chris. Thank you.
Excellent. Thanks for that, Luke. And thank you, Adam, as well for your overview earlier on the call. We've got a little bit of time left, so if there are any questions in the chat window, let me just have a look. And I don't believe there are just yet. And there isn't a facility for you to speak. So we'll probably leave the call there. We're going to we'll create a recording and we'll send that out to all of the attendees along with the content, the documentation that Luke's talked about, and some advice and guidance around how to get set up. And of course, if anyone's got any questions or if there's anything that anyone would like to follow up on, please reach out to the team. We'll send out our details as well. We'd love to follow up with you. Thank you so much, everybody, for your time this morning, and we will hopefully speak again soon. All the best. Bye-bye.